Every week, the checkout total at the grocery store creeps a little higher. Food inflation has embedded itself into the modern household budget, turning basic sustenance into a structural financial threat. To understand how to escape that threat, we have to look at the math of human survival. An agricultural baseline established in the 1970s shows growing enough food to sustain just one person requires 4,000 square feet of land. For a family of 4, that multiplies into a 16,000 square foot grid, an agricultural reality that instantly swallows the average suburban property. Because almost no one in a city or suburb owns that much land, we accept a heavy compromise. We outsource our caloric needs, remaining completely dependent on fragile commercial food supply chains. But there are empirical anomalies operating right now that defy this spatial law. In the middle of the dense metropolitan grid of Pasadena, California, sits the Dervaes family's Urban Homestead. Working entirely within their residential property line, this family produces roughly 7,000 pounds of organic vegetables, fruits, and edible flowers every single year. The sheer weight of that harvest is impressive, but the footprint is staggering. They generate that volume of food on exactly 1/10 of an acre. Achieving that level of self-sufficiency requires ignoring traditional farming rules. It happens by treating a tiny residential garden as a highly efficient biological engine. Traditional row farming is inherently wasteful. By laying crops out in long, flat, widely spaced lines, farmers surrender the vast majority of their arable surface area to empty dirt and tractor paths. The solution to the land problem is a method called biointensive agriculture. Instead of giving plants wide berths, biointensive growers pack seeds tightly together, creating a dense canopy that practically eliminates wasted surface area. To support that kind of density without suffocating the roots, the physical structure of the soil has to change. Growers build deep, double-dug raised beds, loosening the dirt far below the surface to give roots room to dive straight down rather than spreading out. This bar chart reveals the math. Biointensive beds require 88% less water and half the fertilizer, pushing yields higher. Applying this density collapses the spatial math. A family of 4 can harvest the exact same amount in a 40 to 50 square meter box. By abandoning traditional rows and physically redesigning the soil structure, the grower forces the garden to transition from a passive weekend hobby into an active, high-yield production facility. Compressing physical space only solves half the equation. To keep a family fed, a high-yield engine must also maximize time. Growers achieve this through a method called succession planting. This strategic scheduling system is designed to ensure that a bed of dirt is never left empty for a single day of the growing season. This animated grid shows how it works. By tracking a specific crop's days to maturity, a grower knows exactly when to pull a spring harvest out of the dirt and schedules the immediate replacement of an autumn crop in that exact same footprint. But maximizing space and time means nothing if the food lacks energy. To survive on this tiny footprint, the grower has to execute a strategy called calorie farming. Leafy greens are fast to grow, but they offer very little fuel. You have to focus on heavy, dense root vegetables like potatoes, leeks, and parsnips. Because they grow underground, these crops can pack tightly together while storing massive amounts of caloric energy. Agricultural research dictates a strict mathematical ratio for this survival method. Exactly 30% of the garden's total area must be dedicated entirely to these high-calorie root crops. By weaponizing time through tight scheduling and prioritizing heavy calories over leafy variety, a small patch of dirt effectively yields the nutritional output of a farm 4 times its size. Transitioning from a theoretical model to a physical engine in your backyard requires a distinct upfront capital investment. This graph maps out the economics. Year 1 infrastructure, raised beds, soil, seeds, creates a setup cost up to $2,500. Meanwhile, grocery inflation climbs. In Year 2, the math flips. The garden's cost line plummets to a $50 to $150 maintenance fee as inflation skyrockets. Commercial groceries are a permanent sunk cost. The money leaves your bank account and never returns. A biointensive garden operates as an asset, delivering a compounding return on investment year after year. At full capacity, these systems generate a high-quality surplus. That tiny 1/10 of an acre anomaly in Pasadena produced enough volume and quality to supply formal dinner service at the Academy Awards. Reclaiming control of your food supply doesn't require purchasing acres of rural farmland. It requires investing in a tight, biological strategy that permanently immunizes a family against the rising cost of staying alive.